Be a great one.
They'll have a hotel open by then.
Yep.
Well, the Gaylord can give us 2,000 rooms and the convention center.
That's good.
Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Seabrooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
He's
Marty,
here.
Here. Present.
Marty Van Ravensway, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation this morning will be delivered by Pastor Russell Williams from the Arlington Baptist Temple. Pastor Williams, we appreciate you coming out today. Please remain standing after the invocation for the pledge.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the day, and we thank you for the occasion and for our health to even be here today. And we pray, Lord, that you bless these men and women that have the rule and authority over us. We realize, Lord, that they give of themselves, Lord, in order to help us. And we just thank you, Lord, for their efforts. We pray you to give them wisdom and counsel to do what's necessary and proper for our citizens of this great state and this great county. We ask it now in Jesus' precious name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I keep figuring out the Texas flags before I figure the other one is figured out.
Pastor Williams, thank you again for coming out today. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Your Honor, I do not have any agenda announcements this morning, except that Ms. Farmer would like to address the court at this time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to assert the power of peanut butter and jelly.
Turn that upside down.
As you know, last fall we postponed our annual canned food drive to summer because the food bank had several canned food drives at that time, and last summer they had to purchase food. So we're hard at it. Last week was the first week of our canned food drive. We've already had several thousand pounds and over $1,000 reported donated just in the first week. My purpose to be here is to tell you that this coming Friday is PB&J Friday, and the district clerk's office and the tax office and several other offices are going to be asking for donations of lunch money. And in return for that donation, in appreciation, the employees will receive a custom-made peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I know that you all know that a lot of our families here in the Tarrant County area are really challenged this summer with the 25% increased cost of food and the increased cost of gasoline. And it's our intent to respond with a lot of protein. We're going to be building a mountain of protein in the Family Law Center lobby on the 27th, and I'll invite you to drop by and look at it. We're going to try to accumulate as much protein as we can and stack it at least 2 stories tall. I don't know if we'll succeed, but I never cease to be amazed at what these employees give. So if you happen to be in the Justice Center or the old courthouse or in this building on Friday around lunchtime, drop by and give us your lunch money.
Wilder doesn't need too much of that peanut butter and jelly.
Well,
Well, and
right.
I may not be around Friday, so I need to take my lunch money now. And give the peanut butter and jelly sandwich to
Somebody else.
I think it is, but I'm grateful to you for your time.
Thank you, Ann.
Did I hear Roy give his peanut butter and jelly to Tom?
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of June the 3rd.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You know, I know since I have been sitting in this chair, and I'm not even sure that since I was sitting on this court, have I ever seen a day where we had absolutely no proclamations or resolutions
Did you forget one, Debbie?
Or no changes from GK.
And no changes from GK on
Wow.
to boot on that deal, so.
It is a new world.
It is.
So it was definitely interesting when Judy came up. She said, "I feel almost embarrassed to waste the sheet of paper on this deal." So it's an unusual event. But Commissioner Brooks, I think you had something that you wanted for us to close with today.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the second week in a row, I lift up to you the death of a centenarian who had tremendous impact on my life and on the lives of generations of boys and girls in the Fort Worth, Tarrant County community, especially those of a certain age. I ask that we adjourn today's meeting, as is our custom, when our community experiences such a significant loss, in memory of Hazel Harvey Peace, the Dean of African American Educators in Fort Worth and Tarrant County, the first African American chair of the Fort Worth Library Board, and a mentor and friend to generations of black kids. Mrs. Peace taught me at I. M. Terrell High School, and she also taught my parents.
Oh, my goodness.
So her impact in our community has been significant, and her loss is tremendous. To all of her friends and family, we extend our condolences.
Okay, we'll be sure and do that. You have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have, I believe, 4 items to bring to you this morning. On item number 1, we're requesting that the Commissioners' Court approve a resolution in support of the City of Fort Worth Mayor's Advisory Commission on Homelessness Plan. It's entitled Directions Home, Making Homelessness Rare, Short-Term, and Non-Recurring in Fort Worth Within 10 Years.
I think this plan is crucial to ending homelessness not only in Fort Worth but in Tarrant County. We heard the presentation last week on the 10-year homelessness plan. I ask that the court adopt this resolution, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Just a side note as it relates to the homelessness issue, on our court agenda today, under our Section 3 Community Development, we are awarding a total of $1.4 million in federal grants to local entities in Tarrant County to assist in the fight against homelessness. Members of the court, if we could go to item number 2. We're requesting that the Commissioners' Court approve a grant to the Community Supervision and Corrections Department in an amount not to exceed $27,000. This is to provide resources to the Felony Alcohol Intervention Program.
Again, this is a proposal that we heard last week. It's got great community support. It does great work in turning around those who have felony alcohol convictions. I had the privilege yesterday in sitting in on one of those court sessions with those who are enrolled in this program, and it is very gratifying to see how that program works. I move approval of this funding with full knowledge that we'll have to consider this again at budget time.
I second.
And where are these funds coming from? Is that grant?
These funds are coming from Fund 23200. This is a fee that the county collects as it relates to programs such as this. It is not a general fund expenditure. It is a revenue fund that we collect on cases that are filed on DWI.
And I know we talked about last week that being a $50,000 number this year. It's actually $27,000 this year. And then as I understand it, CSCD has applied for a CJD grant, and if they were to get that, then that would,
They've applied for both the CJD grant and a federal grant as it relates to this program. And this will allow us to go ahead and provide funding through a grant, through special funds for the remainder of this year. Hopefully, we'll be able to get some of the grant money, and that will continue the program at this level and possibly even increase it.
We'll get a
I hope
report
that
back
that's
on
true.
how this program is proceeding.
Yes. Yeah. There are 34 participants in the program as of today.
I hope that these grant funds materialize, but I don't want this court to be under any mistaken impression. We need to support this program, and we need to support it going forward, whether the grant funds materialize or not.
any other questions or discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court consider and approve an exception to the county's travel policy as it relates to the tax office.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And then finally, Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 4, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the continuation of a tax abatement for Unit 3604 in the Tower Residential 1 condominium project in Fort Worth.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
Just making sure I'm next. Your Honor, we have 2 subrogation recoveries. With regard to the first one, it's a little different than the norm, although I think we'll be pleased with the outcome. We have a check in the amount of $17,028.03 requesting the court to authorize the auditor to cash it. In the connection with that, there's also a check for $25,000 that will fund it. Some of the money goes to the lawyer and to the victim of the tortfeasor, and that's an amount of $25,000. That needs to be signed by the auditor and then returned to us to give to the other side in the case. And then the second one is just a straightforward check to us in the amount of $3,285.01.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
It is requested that Commissioners Court rescind Court Order Number 94-977, which gave approval of the future tax office space in the Tarrant County Plaza building, and approve leaving the tax office on the first and second floors of the administration building. So there's actually 2 pieces of this court action.
Are we all locked in on this arrangement?
Yes, sir, this will finalize the stacking of the building, of which departments go in the building and which do not. And then next step, we move forward with negotiations for architectural engineering and design on the 4th and 5th floors.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I still don't like this, but it appears to be a runaway train. I will not stand in front of it.
Good idea.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve a reassignment of building space for the Tarrant County Credit Union from the Plaza Building's 6th floor to the portions of the 2nd and 3rd floors in the Plaza Building.
Move for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve a contract with Gideon Toll for architectural engineering design services related to the jail facilities project included in the 2006 capital improvement program.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
It is requested that Commissioners Court approve a contract with Carter Burgess for architectural engineering design services related to the medical examiner's office expansion project included in the 2006 capital improvement program.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And lastly, it is requested that Commissioners Court approve a contract with Broadus & Associates for project management services related to the jail facilities project and medical examiner's office expansion project included in the 2006 capital improvement program.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have 3 additional items for the court this morning. Item number 2, we're asking the court to approve an out-of-class pay extension for information technology. Currently, there's a database administrator, pay grade 89, who's actually been performing the duties of a pay grade 90 supervisor, who is working on the criminal justice project. The IT department is requesting that the out-of-class pay be extended through the middle part of September. The fiscal impact is approximately $1,850.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
We have a similar item with number 3. We're asking for out-of-class pay extension, easy for me to say, for Precinct 3. Precinct 3 has an equipment operator, pay grade 27, who's been performing the tasks of a mechanic, pay grade 29. The mechanic has been militarily deployed. Precinct 3 is requesting for an out-of-class pay extension. Effective through September 19th, there's a fiscal impact not to the general fund, as is indicated on your court communique, but rather to Road and Bridge in the amount of $873.60.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve, noting the change that this is from the Road and Bridge, not the general fund. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our 4th item is worthy. I believe we'll begin the discussion on this item.
Actually going to tag team this one. I'm going to start it, and Ange is going to finish it up. I just wanted to kind of go over what we're going to present today. You might remember that last year we began a process whereby during the reclassification process we identified positions that we believed were reorganizations in addition to them being a reclass, and we are bringing those to you to let you, in concept, approve the reorganization prior to us forwarding that reclassification request to the Job Evaluation Committee. We have some to present to you today. There'll be more to follow in the coming weeks as we finish our audit process and determine which ones would be considered reorganizations. Typically, the ones that are going to be reorganizations that will be presented to you today have the addition of supervision, where we're creating a new organizational unit, or there's a complete change in function. And Ange is going to go over them individually with you, and if you have any questions, then you can inquire with her.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. I will go through the document titled Fiscal Year 2009 Reclassification Request as a result of a departmental reorganization. At the same time, I will try to guide you through the org charts that are numbered in the lower right-hand corner that show those with actual supervisory changes or reorganizations. We will start with the District Attorney's Office. They are requesting a reclassification of a Legal Secretary 2 position to a Litigation Specialist or Legal Coordinator position. This position is vacant.
Excuse me one second. Can you bring the microphone down a little bit or speak a little bit more into that microphone?
Certainly. Okay. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. With the District Attorney's Office, again, they are requesting the reclassification of a Legal Secretary 2 to a Litigation Specialist or Legal Coordinator. The position is vacant. This position will now supervise 3 legal analysis coordinators and 1 legal Secretary 2 position. Organizational charts 1 and 2 will show you the changes that are proposed. The org chart number 1 is the current situation that's proposed, and org chart number 2 is the one that is proposed.
Okay, so we're simply taking the legal secretaries.
Taking one legal secretary two and reclassifying it to the supervisory position, litigation specialist, and then having one legal secretary to report to that position along with the legal analyst, or excuse me, legal analysis coordinators.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, I'll move on to the IT department. Okay. There are 5 positions under IT as part of a reorganization. The first one is a project manager position. They're requesting a reclassification to an IT service manager position. This position will now directly supervise 2 individuals in capacity and availability management, as well as 1 support system administrator who also supervises 4 direct reports. Org charts 3, 4, 5, and 6 show these changes. 3, 4, and 5 are the current situation where the employees are currently, and 6 is the proposal for the new reorganization.
Are there any changes from what you have furnished us to review on any of these?
I don't believe so, no.
I'd like to move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the changes as outlined in the communique. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Beecham. Ooh.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have 2 contracts for your approval this morning. The first is bid number 2008-090, which is, the annual contract for miscellaneous medical supplies and disposables.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second item is bid number 2008-113, which is the annual contract for automotive radiator services for transportation to Kirby Radiator.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any appointments today? Nope. Not appearing, then we'll move to the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. If there's no questions, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manning?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item to bring to the court this morning. This is an update, a briefing from the 911 district. Mr. Greg Petrie, the director of 911, is here to address the court at this time. Good morning.
Good morning. Your Honor, Commissioner, staff, thank you very much for your allowing me to be here this morning.
Probably not going to need it, Mike.
I've never been told I couldn't be heard. So. Good morning. Thank you very much for allowing us to be here this morning for what I call the State of the District, or mid-year briefing for you. I'll begin this morning by a brief map of the district. The district encompasses all of Tarrant County, DFW Airport, and the city of Irving. Briefly, some district statistics. We have 50 public safety answering points. You'll hear me use the term PSAP, Public Safety Answering Point or Dispatch Center. 35 of those are primary. 6 of those are secondary, such as fire or EMS. 7 are backup or emergency operations centers, and 2 are training. We have 41 member entities. 38 of those are cities, Tarrant County, DFW Airport, and the Naval Air Station. District population exceeds 2.1 million, 1,100 square miles, 1.4 million wireline database records, an estimated 1.3 million wireless devices, and in 2007 we processed over 2 million 911 calls, and 71% of those were from wireless carriers. Statistics last month actually indicated that number is nearing 73%. Mission and value statement, I believe they're always important to us. The Tarrant County 911 District will continuously provide reliable, accurate, responsive, and effective emergency communication networks and services to our member jurisdictions, ensuring the protection of life and property for the citizens of our community. And a couple of fundamental values. One, that the control of the district is the responsibility of the member jurisdictions and the Board of Managers. The district will provide the most reliable, effective, cost-efficient, and proven, emphasis added, state-of-the-art technologies available at the lowest service fee rate possible. Put my other hat on and say we're very proud that we have the lowest service fee in the state and probably the country. I thought I would highlight 3 areas today, and first of all I want to start out with our new beginning. This last year we moved our district offices from downtown leased location to our own building located at 2600 Airport Freeway. This gives us a new opportunities for our PSAPs, for our customers. In our leased facility we had 0 parking. It was very difficult for our customers to come to our locations, our customer being the PSAPs, and our support of those PSAPs. So we now have our own facility with dedicated parking, a new dedicated training facility, which we'll talk about shortly. In the September time frame, we will have an open house in conjunction with 911 Day, and you will all be invited to that. As I mentioned earlier, there's 3 items or 3 areas that I really want to focus on today, and one of those is GIS mapping. I call this our shared district success story. GIS, or Geographic Information Systems, are not just the map anymore. Used to be we had a map on the wall and that was the extent of our availability. Now GIS is much more than that. Much more embedded data, much more usable, for lack of a better term, to the public safety answering points. Our district's GIS is a centralized database of street center lines. The data set has been distributed and used by several agencies. I did that again. I did that last year. Escape? Okay, thank you. This is a map depicting street center lines. The purple and red lines are what are referred to as center lines. That's a single line drawing of a map. Of a street, excuse me. I have superimposed a aerial view or a satellite map on top of that to give you an idea of what we're depicting here. Benefits of a shared GIS program. Of course, it reduced overall cost and reduced duplication of effort on various agencies. Developing, maintaining a GIS project is costly and very time-consuming. It's a quarter of our personnel budget. Agencies and entities that receive our GIS data, our district's GIS department shares and delivers the street center line files regularly to the following recipients. Tarrant County, the Tarrant County GIS department then adds city limit lines, adds city limit lines to that and then reshares that data. The Tarrant Appraisal District, for instance, adds parcel data to it and then reshares that data. NCT COG, MedStar, City of Fort Worth, and Grapevine, and many other cities, the T and the Northeast Fire Department Association are just a few of the entities that use our data. And I always have to praise our staff. In 2006, we received a Best of Texas Award for regional cooperation along with the Euless Fire Department. Public marketing. This is an ongoing district success story. Our public marketing program includes public education, media relations, and community relations. This department, headed by Lisa Simmons, directs all 911 public education activities for the district by developing and executing programs to increase the public's knowledge about the purpose and proper use of 911. We're not just passing out pencils anymore, even though pencils are still our #1 request for public education materials. Although general 911 education remains important, there is more the public must know. Technology is the driving force on all new 911 public education messages. There's not hardly a month that goes by that there's not a new device that can interconnect to 911, and we have to be able to prepare for that and educate the public on the proper use of it. Public awareness campaigns are a huge portion of what we do. You can see here of some joint campaigns that we did last year having to do with our 20th anniversary of providing 911 service. And then in the center of the screen there, you'll see a joint program that we did with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, the Harris County 911 District, and the DENCO 911 District, having to do with VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol telephone service. Our future campaign will be Next Generation. What will the public need to know? Next Generation generally hasn't been defined yet of what that next step of 911 is going to be, but it very easily could include text messaging, photographs sent to the public safety answering point, and other new technologies that are coming on board. We also have several ongoing programs, 911 Kid Heroes. In fact, tonight I'll be at Euless City Council helping to present an award to a youngster who helped save a life by calling 911. Schools and community outreach is also very critical to us, and you can see a few certificates there on the screen from some of those activities. Media relations. Media relations is a very important part of what we do. Proactive communications planning, just with the event at Euless tonight, getting the word out on that. PAO and crisis communications. We always have a situation where we need to look at communicating with the media, even in a crisis situation. Media buy that we conducted in September of 2007, combining cable, radio, in a 3-week period on our program, which was Know the Phone You Own. Know how to call 911 from the phone you own. Right now there are a multitude of telephone-type devices, and each one of them accesses 911 a little bit differently. This particular media buy that we did, and you can see that on your screen, targeted both the over 65 age group and the 25 to 54 adult age group, and always kids. This was also a shared program with ourselves, North Central Texas Council of Governments, and DENCO. This screen is to show you a few items of interest concerning Elisa Simmons. Elisa is a great program manager for this. She's won many awards. She's been president of the the Texas chapter of our association, president of the 911 Public Education Group several times, and committee chair on many national committees. In fact, this week is the National 911 Conference, and she's making 3 separate presentations during that conference. Hiring, training, and retaining call takers. This is what I am calling a new district initiative. Call takers and dispatchers are an investment. It's been estimated that it costs $60,000 to hire, train, and prepare a call taker to be work in a public safety answering point. We have over 1,000 call takers with all of our entities in Tarrant County, so you can do the math on that, and that's a huge number. Staffing costs in our 911 PSAPs are challenging. Several factors influence the cost of keeping our 911 PSAPs adequately staffed. Getting applications, more importantly, the right applications. Hiring applicants with needed skills, aptitudes, probably attitudes, and motivators. training to enhance basic skills and controlling attrition, keeping the right people on the job. We believe the Tarrant County 911 District can provide cost-effective tools to our member PSAPs to assist with managing staffing costs, leveraging collective resources in recruiting, centralized resources for testing applicants, providing selected training components for the development of key skills and abilities, and providing resources to promote staff retention. Recruitment, coordination and educational resources for a district-wide recruit team. We already have many of the resources that would be needed for this. A booth at a job fair, for instance, and that could be staffed by volunteers from our sites. Centralized and shared testing resources. In our new facility, we have an area dedicated, we call it our e-training lab. It's an area dedicated specifically for individualized training and testing. Training, leveraging our Training and Education Committee to select the right training components. The Training and Education Committee came out of our Technical Operations Committee that we formed several years ago. We're trying to get more of a grassroots involvement, if you will, of our PSAP manager and let us know what tools they need. This training program will be yet another tool. It's much easier for us to be the backbone, if you will, of a group training session and then provide that to our member entities at a greatly reduced cost. Retaining. Fund ongoing education and some new web tools for retention. We've had one Project Retain seminar, which is a seminar conducted by the Associated Public Safety Communications Officers Association. It's real difficult to say, APCO, having to do with retaining employees. Once you get that employee, once you get them hired, what do you need to do to retain those? We've had one of those seminars, and we will conduct at least one per year, hopefully 2 per year as we go forward. What is our path forward? Well, we initially surveyed the PSAPs to see what type of training materials they needed and what they would be interested in. We'll do that again at 12 months, which will be October 1st. Did we progress well in our goals? Were we effective in the way we did it? Was there a cost benefit? So on and so forth. Typical survey type program management skills. Develop and maintain best practices. While it's not our position to tell that operator how to answer that call, many of our member PSAPs come to us and say, well, is there a best practice for how to handle this type of call? So we've taken it upon ourselves to help collectively develop that, and then those will be published for our sites to use or not use or adapt to their particular environment. And then our program development plan will be on each budget cycle. What monies do we have this year? Is it better to have small classes, large classes? Do our groups all need suicide prevention training, or do they need basic call taker training? And each budget year, the training committee will make a proposal as our budget comes forward. Here's my famous crystal ball. I wish I knew what was next for 911, but as I mentioned before, every day is a new challenge, a new device, a new way to access 911, a new way to misuse 911. Here's a few challenges that I see as we move forward for the next 12 months. Structure and funding. Our structure's changing, our goals are changing. As we move forward, funding will change. Our funding is based upon a declining resource, and that's the landline, wired telephone. So as we go forward, we will have to investigate that and be sure that our funding is high enough and at a sustained level to provide the services that you have requested. Political boundaries, city limits change on a moment's notice. As some of our cities annex into other counties, that creates even more challenges for us. Legislative, we all deal with the biennium and the legislature every 2 years as far as what will be the whims of the legislature. Regulatory, the regulatory environment is changing more and more. More and more of the telecommunications services have become deregulated. We don't have a lot of, shall we say, throat to choke type situation where we can get a hold of these telecommunications companies. Originally, There were 2 telephone companies in Tarrant County when the district was created 20 years ago. Now there are over 500 that provide telephone and telephone-like services to the citizens. So from the regulatory standpoint, our mission has changed a lot, for lack of a better term. I mentioned the revenue. Here's just a revenue chart to show you the declining. The wireline is on the bottom. That wireline revenue has been very flat, if not declining, over the last couple of years. Wireless revenue over the last few years has been skyrocketing. However, this year, I guess due to a little bit of an economic downturn, we're actually seeing a slight decrease in wireless revenue this year. Finally, what do I see as next? Contingency planning, of course, is a huge area for us. Post 9/11, we all became more cognizant of contingency planning and continuity of operations planning. The VDB ERDB, Verification Database Emergency Routing Database, this is specifically for the Voice over Internet Protocol, or VoIP, telephone service. It is in its infancy today. However, so was wireless 15 years ago. I would have never dreamed in my life that we'd have 72% of our calls coming from a wireless device. Who in the world would want one of those car phones to carry around with them all the time? Well, I missed that one, so I'm afraid I might miss VoIP also. So we want to be driving the train, not chasing the train. Next generation 911. This really hasn't been defined yet. We came along to you several years ago and said next generation's right around the corner. It's not. It has not been defined. Standards have not been defined. And truly what the public safety answering points want in next generation has not been defined. But we're trying to be prepared for that. It will be a new evolution of equipment, a new evolution of network, and probably a new evolution of the way calls are processed. Funding. Funding is always an issue. We always look at it, especially every other year with the legislature. What will the legislature do? Just like the county, the legislature always has these unfunded mandates. Thou shalt, but by the way, there's no money. Service and support. Our service and support is changing, as I mentioned before. Originally, we had 2 telephone companies in Tarrant County. Now there's well over 500 that provide telephone-type services. So our service and support changes some. Vision. What is our vision? Well, I've shared with this before. This is Greg's vision. We have to plan today to implement technology 2 years from now that hasn't even been thought of yet. You look at such things as Sync. Sync is a device, a service that is employed in Ford Motor Company now for their cars. Your car actually connects to your cell phone when you get in the car. You can make calls, you can access your address book, so on and so forth. And guess what? You have an accident, your phone calls 911. Unlike OnStar and some of the other crash notification services who go through a dispatch center or their own dispatch center, it makes a direct 911 call. So now we have a wireless 911 call without a lot of data. Many times they're hang-up calls. So that's a new technology that pretty well blindsided us, and we had to make adjustments to our system and quick training to our public safety answering points for that service. And there are many others that come through every day. I appreciate the opportunity to give you this mid-year briefing. I hope I brought you some information that is beneficial to you, and I'll be more than happy, Judge, to answer any questions any of the commissioners or staff might have.
Questions? Just one question I've got. I know right now on our, the cell phone that there is I guess there's a monthly fee that we pay for the 911 service.
Yes, sir.
On the voice override cable companies, do they pay that same fee?
Voice over IP has had 3 separate flavors. Enterprise VoIP would be such as a large complex, say the county, for instance. You don't use a lot of VoIP, but say the county or a large city might use VoIP as an enterprise. Those fees are paid on the inbound trunks, private public switch telephone network, PSTN trunk, then they're connected to that, we do receive fees from there. The other flavor is what's called fixed VoIP. That would be what the cable companies provide. They call it digital phone service, but it's very similar to VoIP. Some of the other fixed providers, and they pay on a per unit basis also. My mind just escaped me. The other VoIP, Vonage type services, nomadic VoIP, which Vonage is the big carrier on that, and many of those do pay 911 service fees on that VoIP service. So to specifically answer your question, yes and no. So, some of the smaller companies, we're still having trouble chasing those down, but in some of the larger companies, such as Vonage, they do pay a service fee.
So most computer where you do I guess VoIP, can they just dial 911 directly?
Yes.
Has that been a recent change?
The FCC order was in November of 2005 that they be able to provide that. Now, services such as Snipe and some of those that are intended for computer to computer, you cannot dial 911. But those that are considered to be more traditional services, you can.
Okay. Other questions?
No, I think that's, our 911 organization in Tarrant County has been a leader in the country for the last couple of decades, and I think could be commended to continue that leadership, and obviously we have.
Thank you, sir.
Greg,
Yes, sir.
where are we on text messaging and other similar services?
Text messaging is currently not available in anywhere in the country directly through the 911 system. There are a couple of vendors that are experimenting with ancillary devices to allow text messaging to the public safety answering point, but today it is not available.
Anywhere in the country?
Anywhere to my knowledge. That is correct, sir.
So what are we going to do about it?
The next generation of services, the network today will not handle text messaging. It will not provide us. The next generation of services will include text messaging. I know my teenagers do not talk on the phone. They only text message.
Right.
I'm not sure if they even use any of their wireless minutes. I have to buy them unlimited texting because I can't afford it if I don't. So we know that that's an issue. We know nationally it's a big talking point this week at the national conference is text messaging and how do we move forward on that. And we have several people that serve on national committees for next generation, so we'll be at the forefront of it.
Great.
JD, you're doing a lot of text messaging.
JD said that's not a problem.
It takes me about 20 minutes to write one sentence, and my teenagers turn around the Gettysburg Address to me in like 3 seconds after that. So
Commissioner Johnson still uses a rotary dial phone.
I'm with you, sir.
Don't knock it.
Any other questions?
Now, I was at a meeting not too long back, and he actually did a little text messaging.
You did, on my phone.
Well, we read the message together. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Mr. Manning, anything else?
Your Honor, that's all we have this morning.
Okay, I will remind the clerks that we are going to close our meeting after we come back from close in memory of Hazel Harvey Peace. The Commissioners Court will now recess the open session, proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Code.